All right, we are good. Good.
Yeah.
Yeah, 100%.
Awesome.
Cool. Good stuff.
Right. Hello and welcome to another evening of three middle-aged blokes talking bollocks about Warhammer and other pseudo vaguely related-ish ramblings of all sorts of crap that we can think about that we want to talk about. This week the theme is a vague theme of how we go about painting and prepping for events when you've got like a huge mountain of models to get done, how you approach it, what you do, and all that kind of shit. So yeah.
Cool. Good evening.
Yeah.
Oh, you caught me unawares with that. Right. Important thing. I've got beer.
Hey!
It's been a while.
So this is a Sabro Summer from my local brewery, Patmos Brewery. It's just up the road from it. I have no idea what it's going to taste like, but I thought I'd have something a bit more interesting to drink.
I've been out shopping this evening because I'm going to a Stargate live roleplay this weekend coming. We're filming on a Thursday and I'm going out to it tomorrow. Has that got all over you?
No worse.
Are you covered in beer? Oh no, beer crime. But where I was going with that is that I've bought a drink as well, and I know exactly what it's going to taste like because I've had it before. It's this sparkling sake that I've drunk, and it's absolutely gorgeous. And it's 250ml, and it's £6 a bottle. But wow, it's really good.
I was going to say, I mean, that sounds expensive, but these days, like, you go for a pint of beer anywhere out like, you're going to be like £8 to £10, right? Like, it's getting ridiculous.
Oh, yeah, true.
Well, yeah, it's getting ridiculous, isn't it? But at least that's 565 mils.
True.
Yeah.
That's the stage I'm in. That I'm almost at the point where you go to the clinky aisle and you go in, right, what's got the most alcohol per milliliter per pound? That's nonsense.
White lightning. It's got to be white lightning.
Dude, ice cream float though, because that went everywhere.
What are you drinking tonight, John?
I need a spoon.
Oh, it's water. It's a school night.
Yeah.
I usually always drink water. Yeah.
I know.
Yeah.
You had a game recently, John. Did you have to paint much stuff for it?
I had to like half paint a Storm Raven. I had to like half paint Gilliman. I had to paint Tigris. I had to paint some Sternguard.
Tigris, but you're a Blood Angel player, John. Why were you painting Tigris?
Do you know what I think? I think Ultramarine Stormlands is a really, really fun detachment. And I think there's a really, really competitive list in that detachment.
I assume it's not the one you used, because didn't you lose?
What was your win record at the weekend, John?
Well, did you heard that I lost the Storm Raven? The opponent went first, and he killed it with indirect fire before I even got to move it.
I did indeed read that in the Discord, yes.
You couldn't make that up. So yeah, my win record was 1. We won 1 game, and in the 1 game that I won, I fucking destroyed.
Out of 3 games, because it was a 1-day event, right?
No, it was 5 games. 1 game out of 5.
Event. Oh no.
But one of the games was my own damn fault in that he had a tank on the center objective. And at the end of the game, if I had area denial, so it's like 5 points if I have a unit in the middle. And I shot my Sturm Guard at the tank, and they fucking obliterated the tank, and I was like, oh, I can't charge into the middle now. Like, I've overkilled you, and I've lost the game because of it. So, I needed...
What tank was it?
Just like a Predator tank or a Sisters of Battle Castigator. But here's the problem with those Stern Guard. They are insane. Like... I love them in Ultramarines because they reroll all their hits. They can get rapid fire, which means 3 shots per guy. They can have sustained hits. They reroll all their wounds. They've got +1 to wound, and every 6 is devastating. So, like, they can literally do 15 devastating wounds in 1 turn of shooting.
Right, so you're basically talking about what Death Company do, but for shooting.
Better, just because you're rerolling all the wounds. And because Tigris is there, you're like 12 inches away and you get free Overwatch. So the cool thing in that Ultramarines list is if you've got 2 units, I can put both of those oath, obliterate one of them, and then when you move the other one, I'll now have oath on it and I'll obliterate it. So it's fun. but it didn't score me very well.
Was it one of those quite powerful but doesn't score well? Like you kill everything but score 0 points?
Yeah, against the demons, I literally wiped the board but lost the game by 20 points. So that's on me for picking a list that just kills shit. But do you know what? When I designed that list, I designed it to kill stuff. I didn't design it.
That's been your focus, though. You've always been about violence over scoring.
Yeah, probably.
That's how I was playing. I still maintain that dead men score no points.
Whereas I've always been for scoring over violence, and that has left me in tatters more often than not as well. Yeah. So I get the other side of the coin.
And do you know what? Having now played Hellblasters in 10 games, I've actually got a love affair with Hellblasters.
Oh, is this Mr. Guns are going to blow me up, I'll never run them, how very dare they, how dare you suggest I put these units in my army?
Yes. I think the new hazardous rules in 10th are probably the most friendly almost to miniatures that they've ever been.
Yeah, probably.
Because of course in previous editions it's, I rolled a 1, he's dead.
On any of the 20 dice that I've just rolled, yeah, exactly. Whereas now it's
like every time you rolled it, they all doubled. So at least it's not quite as bad as that anymore.
No, and the Hellblasters are super fun when the opponent shoots them and kills 5 of them, and then you roll 5 dice. You're like, oh, all 5 of my guys are going to shoot you back. Oh, I've got lethal hits. So, a few 6s, and it's like I just killed half your squad that shot at me.
So were you painting them blue?
No, they're Red Marines.
They're Red Marines. Okay, you're still Red Marine Commander.
Yes.
You're not Ultra Smurf Commander yet.
No. But you know what? There's something very palate cleansing about going to a tournament with just bonkers stuff that you don't normally play. Mm-hmm. Because if you're frustrated with the game, which is what I was, in that I just felt like I couldn't win tournaments with Blood Angels with the current codex, just doing something completely different that wasn't like it was. I never once was like, I'm going to try and score points with this list. I was just going to I'm going to put all the bonkers death ball stuff in this list and have fun. And I think I probably made the most friends ever at that tournament because everybody was like, "Oh my god, I get to play against the Storm Raven! I wasn't expecting that." And it was like, "Yep, here it is." Oh, it's dead.
I got that exact same reception when I took my Orc planes to an Aeronautica tournament at Warhammer World. I did absolute shit, but I was having such good fun with them because I'm just flying everything forward, all the Dakar, don't give a crap. Wow, yeah. It was fun.
That feels like every game I play at the moment. I'm bringing Thunderhawk out. No. Anyway, let's get on the target.
Yeah, you had to paint them red. And you're half a Storm Raven and how much else?
It was probably about 10 models I did get red for this event.
Over what sort of time period did you have to paint them? Did you know that you'd need to schedule to do that in?
Yeah, like 6 weeks, maybe. Originally, I just needed a change, so I just started playing something different. And I think that the thing that I struggle with, is I hate being up the night before tournaments painting, because I think that I want to be rested and do well. Like normally, I want to do well at the tournament. I mean, even with my stupid list, I still want to do well, or at least enjoy myself. And I think if I'm tired and I've been painting the whole night beforehand, I'm not going to do that.
Okay. So how did you schedule and plan in getting all that stuff painted in the time you had available to you?
I think I always go for battle ready in terms of regardless of any model I buy, I want to play it. Before I spend 50 hours painting it, I want to play it. So I would do base coats, 2 or 3 bits, shoulder pads, guns, maybe Space Marines always have those gaps in their armor, legs, backpacks. So I'd probably pick 3 or 4 easy colors, do all that, do the bases, and then just move on to the next model. So realistically, you can turn that round in an hour per guy or something like that. So turn that round on everybody you need, and then sort of go back to the start of the conveyor belt and be now I'm going to add a couple more colors to everybody. And that way, as the tournament looms, or the date looms, even if one model, the heavy bolter guys were literally heavy bolters in the cables, there wasn't a whole lot of detail on them. they were still 3 colours, and they are still based, and they are still tournament ready. And I'm not going to win best painted, obviously, if the heavy bolters guys only have 2 colours or 3 colours on them. But at least I'm not going to be stressing about like, oh my god, I need to be up till 4 a.m. basing some models or something like that. Right?
Yeah.
So I enjoy going to the tournaments, but I don't, and I think going to a tournament for me gives me direction on my painting, but I don't enjoy being like a week away looking at like 3 or 4 grey models being like, oh fuck, I need to do these this week.
And when you've got a fully battle ready painted army, even if they're not like the best you can do, having that full army in front of you, that still feels like a really good achievement.
Yeah.
When they're all battle ready and all based and all that sort of jazz, they're coherent. They look nice.
Yeah, I mean, and then you get your 10 painted points, which is important, I think.
Yeah.
Do a lot of the tournaments you play at have your 10 painted points?
Oh yeah. I lost a guy who was playing Dark Angels that didn't get 10 painted points. Should I admit that?
I
lost by 1 point.
I saw a guy on the Discord the other week who said he'd taken an army and was doing quite well, but he lost one game, and he would have won it if he'd have had the 10 painted points that he was playing with some grey miniatures army. And his takeaway was, I need to do better against blah, 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 blah. And my reply was, sorry, surely your takeaway is you need to play with a fully painted army and get the 10 free fucking points, right?
Yes.
If you want to win, and that's a win condition, or part of the win condition, do it.
Do you play at tournaments that don't do 10 painted points?
Yeah, actually, genuinely I have. So I seem to play the 2 sets of events that I've played. I don't play that many tournaments. I play a few events, things like that. It sort of fall into 2 camps, and you've got sort of like, other than like your big official ones, and you've got your 10 painted points and things like that. But you either seem to have just not allowed to play with unpainted miniatures.
Okay.
So it becomes irrelevant.
Yeah.
Or I've played in a few that are more like beginner friendly, where they just haven't counted that rule to try and encourage people to my first tournament, get the kids out and play with those sorts of events. And those sort of 2, you get the occasional ones where it's 10 painted points, but most of the time you have to play painted miniatures for the tournaments that I'll go to.
Mm-hmm.
So they're just like, well, you haven't got painted army, you can't play.
But you get 10 points because it's part of the way that all the mission scoring is structured these days.
Yeah, so it's not really relevant, if that makes sense.
That's fine.
Yeah, I think I would prefer that if they enforce people to paint, but I can understand like some people just don't enjoy that part of the hobby, right? Like, and I guess if I was starting over, let's say you've been out of Warhammer for 10 years and you're coming back today, and you sold everything when you left, financial reasons or whatever, then you're coming back and you won a 2,000 point army and you buy that and you make that. That's a daunting amount of models to paint.
Necrons.
What?
You just play Necrons.
Well, sure, you dry brush everything and paint a bit of green. But yeah, but you didn't buy Necrons. You bought you bought something that you were into before.
Actually, I'm going to disagree with you on that.
Oh, yeah.
I didn't quite go into this, but I was very much in this situation back in 8th edition. So back in 7th edition, I'd pretty much given up on 40k. Back 4th, 5th, 6th, I did a lot of tournaments. I was really serious into it. 7th, I just wasn't feeling the game. I sold a lot of my stuff. I had a few bits kicking around, but the bulk of my stuff I then sold.
Yeah.
8th edition rolled round, and suddenly it was looking pretty cool. And I walked into a Games Workshop shop and thought, right, I've really got the itch. I really missed this. I want to play some Warhammers. I literally looked them all up on the thing and went, Custodes. Because I can build an army and paint that in a weekend. So I genuinely did that. I went in with absolutely nothing, and I said, right, I need to build this from scratch. I want it as quick as I can because I want to play a game in a couple of weeks. What am I going to do? Custodes. And I bought a set of Custodes and a rattle can, and realised that the rattle can gold was the worst paint I'd ever bought because all it did was obscure all the detail in my model without actually colouring it gold.
Okay.
And I think I must have, apparently there was a few like duff cans going around or something, but I'd never bought one of these coloured cans before.
All right, well, I've got the compromise for you between Necrons and Custodes. It's called Grey Knights. Just as elite, all the grey. There you go.
Well, you can rattle can them silver, can't you?
Exactly.
There we go. Lead belcher.
Then income and you're done. Yeah, good. And they can be terminated, so there's only like 10 of them in the army.
Yeah. But anyway, yeah, so I did do that, and I chose Custodes because it was that easy army. I didn't choose Necrons because at the time, and I still feel the same way, I don't know what they did with the lore.
And they're a horde army at the end of the day. They might be easy to paint with a simple paint scheme, but they're still a horde army. Fucking done to them.
I didn't like the way they sort of like tried to humanize them, for want of a better term.
Okay.
So I remember when Necrons come out. John, you were playing around that time as well. Do you remember the original Necron?
They were just soulless space undead with no
the Necron, basically. Yeah, and it was that kind of like a bit like almost Tyranids. They had no motivation other than you've woken me up. I'm very grumpy about it, and I want to wipe out all life in the universe. You know, there was only about 3 models in the army. Necrons and the Necron Lord was about the limit of it, and I always thought that was cool. You know, they were much more undead, unthinking.
Yeah, okay.
I think
monsters.
They used to give me real Tomb King vibes, or is that just me?
They did.
Yeah, the implacability had a certain charisma to it. I'll give you that.
I just thought it was cool. I mean, I was a teenager back then.
Yeah.
And
I thought that was sort of like edgy and cool. But now they're all like, oh no, I don't feel like it. Oh, I'm sad. I've lost my soul, and all this sort of shit. I don't care. You know, the Terminator doesn't care about that he hasn't got a soul. He just stomps along.
Yeah.
Implacable. That's what I want from my Crons.
Yeah.
Way off base there. So I actually did do this, back to the point, a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
Quite a few years ago now. Back in 8th edition when I decided to do a hard reset and start again.
Mm-hmm.
And that really was one of my major considerations, was I knew I had very little free time.
Okay, I thought it was because you like the lore of the custodians and all that kind of jazz.
I always thought they were cool, but I didn't pay attention to them coming back into the setting. So I remember the naked custodians from way back when.
Yeah.
I always thought they were really cool. And then when they sort of like, I saw a couple of things about them in Heresy and thought that was pretty cool. But the biggest reason, genuine hand on heart, was the fact that I thought I could paint them in a weekend. And they weren't as annoying as Crons.
So how many models was it? Like 20 models?
Yeah, I just bought the getting started with, or whatever it was at the time. I just bought like a big Wadgum because that was, you could have an army. You know, it was only 1,000 points or so, but an army was like a couple of boxes.
Yeah.
And that was wicked.
Okay.
And that was a really neat way back into playing the game for me. And then I played a few games with them, realised that they were quite cool, but I missed my Blood Angels. And
it's fair.
And then started painting Blood Angels in anger.
So, Tony, you're the most painting-oriented, artistic, dedicated person out of the 3 of us. How do you go about approaching painting models for like an impending tournament or something, depending on what you've got?
I find this a really difficult question to answer. Because it's not something that I generally do.
Because you have a large sort of catalogue of already painted stuff in general?
Yeah, and if I'm going to an event, I will very happily sacrifice, this is the meta pick for this list, but this one is painted and cool.
Fair.
So, but like me turning up to events, it's much more likely that I'll turn up with something stupid that I happen to have painted that I haven't used for a while than it is for me to paint specifically for an event. Now, that's not to say that I don't have techniques for painting quickly and things like that. That I really do. But it's never been this kind of like, or very rarely is it because I want to go to an event. Now, the only exception to that is once, I think, not properly exception, and that was the doubles tournament that we went to. Was it early this year?
Last November, I think it was.
Whenever it was, yeah. And that was because for that very specific doubles event, I decided that I was going to run a list that complemented yours and therefore had no models whatsoever apart from a couple that were actually painted. So I did have to do that. But it wasn't really a big deal for me because it was just a modification of my normal kind of painting sort of style and technique anyway. So it really wasn't that big a thing. I've got a couple of pictures and things like that, but I thought I'll get into that and I'll just sort of talk through the process a bit later on. But How about you, Mark? Because you tell us, you definitely do paint for events.
Hold on a minute.
Yeah, absolutely. Sorry, go on.
So flip it on its head, though, right? Like, so what would you tell someone, like my opponent this week that had his grey army?
Yeah.
You know, like you're 2 months, you're 3 months out of the event. If that was you in retrospect, right? Like, what would you tell someone? What would your advice be? Because, like Mark said, you are the most experienced painter. You know, so you're 3 months from the event. You've got 2,000 points that are undercoated. You making a plan, or are you just winging? Like, I'm going to paint every night, or are you making a plan? What would you be? What would your process be?
All right. Well, all right. Fine. Then we'll get into it.
I can do mine first if it makes it easier, and then you can go in there. So I like to know way ahead of time the events that I'm going to. We're talking like 6 to 9 months in advance, so I can plan to acquire any miniatures that I don't already have as part of the army. Because if I'm going to an event, I prefer not to be able to sacrifice what the army that I'm taking is doing for rule of having something already ready and painted and going, because that will feel suboptimal and doesn't feel great to me. So if I need to buy a unit, that will give me enough time to buy it, build it, get it painted, and everything else I need to do. And I have a little process that I went through. So this is what I wrote and created for. It's an Excel sheet, ready for going to the doubles event that Tony was talking about. And this is just a simple checklist. So this is every unit in my 1,000 points for the doubles army. And this is every stage that I've identified as necessary to getting them to be battle ready. They need to be. I need to have acquired the unit. I need to have built them. Undercoat them, be it a black spray or a white spray, whatever. Base coat is generally a red spray, although there's Death Company in there, so it's a black spray, and there's some gold in there as well, which is fine.
Yeah.
Ink wash, I do the ink wash over the top of the base spray, and that gives me the details in there. And then I'll pick out the details that I'll need to, and then that's generally the model itself done. I put some workshop texture paint on the base, which is normally Astro Granite for me, because that's the color that I've chosen to use, because I like the concrete grey and how that contrasts with the red of most Blood Angels. It's a good way of making the red stand out for me. I ink the texture paint, then I dry brush it in white to highlight it out, and then I just paint around the edge of the rim of the base. So every stage, I can see how far I've got to go with my entire army, what I'm missing, what I've not done, and then I can tick them off week by week, day by day as I get there, and I feel satisfied as to making progress towards my army being battle ready and ready to take the tournament, essentially. And this helps me keep a lid on how much I've got left to do, which I can work in with how much time I've got left to do it in, really. This may be a bit over the top.
No, this is great, man. Don't undersell yourself. Honestly, I think I should be doing something like this, because I'm just like trying to keep my mental picture of like those 6 models over there need to be done, and like for all the time this would take, which is like 5 minutes, right?
If that.
That would be actually like really in terms of like some people work better when they can see tangible progress. I mean, you've got it right here,
Yeah. I mean, my job, the work that I do day in, day out, is an office-based job where I work with Excel, and I have to manage workflows and things being set up and readied and clocking all the details and stuff. So doing this sort of thing is kind of second nature to me. But yeah, that's why I did that. And then just to give some examples of the various stages of what I consider and how I'm painting and doing, I'm not doing the obvious shit. I'm not going to show you like a grey model or a base white undercoat sprayed model. But this is a model that I've already base coated in red, and I've put a red ink wash on it. And that's fine. That gives it a nice bit of shading. It pops out enough of the detail for me to be able to work with. It's a little bit dark for a red, but that's a personal taste choice more than anything else. And then the same look I'd get with if I was doing black. Black's slightly different. Black's more annoying, but I've come up with a method I use for black which works for me, and that is I spray the entire model with a base undercoat of black, and then I'll do a zenith spray from above in Mechanica Standard Grey, and that just highlights all the bits from the light shining on from above with a bit of grey, and then I'll give it an all-over black ink wash to tie the grey and the black together, and that gets the finish that you see there, which looks a little bit like you'd get from contrast, but I quite like the effect of it. It's black, but it's not black, if that makes sense. It's picked out all the details. Oh, I hate edge highlighting. Let me just say that.
I mean,
it annoys the crap out of me. It looks false. I don't like it. And to me, this feels more natural. And I can see Tony's expression there.
Yeah, I can't stand edge highlighting. It's the absolute waste of times. No, that's not fair. It's a very useful technique. It has its place. I just hate doing it.
And for me, this is like quick and simple and produces a result that I quite like as being black.
And black for new people, black is hard because the thing is, if you just spray, let's say you spray Chaos Black or I guess Abaddon Black now, it's hard to know where to go, right? Yeah. Like, was it just black? It's like, how do you pick out details when it's black armor and he already is black? Yeah. So giving it another tone is a good idea.
Yeah, and when you shine light on black, it does look sort of white or greyish when it's being shone down from. So yeah, this works for me. And then for a gold look, this is the gold that I use. This is the Retributor Armor gold spray from a rattle can, gone over with a ink wash of Seraphim Sepia, I think it is. And I like the sort of the warm burnished gold finish that gives it, and that's what I do for Sangard and all that sort of stuff. This is an example of what I do for the base. You've got the texture paint on there. It's been ink washed because you can see the layer of sort of brown ink around the edge of the base where the ink just sort of like overlaid it a bit, and then I've dry brushed with a bit of white or light Space Wolf grey over the top of it to give it a bit more depth. I've found that it looks better with the dry brushing and the highlighting than just the inking. So I'm doing that on all my models now, and that provides a very nice contrast to the red above, as you can kind of see on that example there.
That's an old captain.
Oh yeah, I really need to finish him. I really need to.
Is he metal? Yes.
No, that's fine cast.
That's fine cast. Oh wow.
Yeah, that's going back away. That is.
Yeah.
It was the. Is that the Games Day one, or is that the?
Yeah, I eBayed it a few years ago because I wanted to get it because it's so iconic from that one piece of Blood Angel artwork.
Somewhere in one of these boxes, and he's the bubbliest bit of fine cast ever, which is why I've never finished painting him. But I actually got mine from Games Day.
Oh.
I wasn't there that year, and it was a fucking. I loved Games Day when it was down in the NEC. It was brilliant.
Yeah.
And I really do think they made a mistake when they moved it.
I agree.
Because they just wanted to make it bigger, I think, and that was the.
And now they split it out from Golden Demon as well.
Yeah, and it was all in one. It was all there. It was just so fun. And they used to run my local Games Workshop store used to run a bus, like $5 a ticket or something, and we'd all get on the bus and go down together.
Oh, that's cool.
Not happening anymore is a bit of a shame. You're absolutely right. And from there, we kind of go to an example of this is the bare minimum standard of what I would call battle ready. You can see it's not finished. The pouch isn't done. There's nothing done in the little eye sockets or anything like that. But it's base coated. It's shaded. I've picked out the weapons. I've picked out a little bit of detail on the shoulder pad. It's based. It's textured. It's got a little bit of decoration around there. This is just a model of the line. It's an infiltrator. No one's going to look at it twice, hopefully, but that is ultimately, I'm happy with that as a battle ready model. That is fine for me. It won't pass muster for any kind of competition whatsoever, but as part of a unit of 10, it looks all right.
Yeah. No, but I think there is a skill in getting your stuff to battle ready, because if you pour all your time into one or two models, then you'll end up at the tournament with one or two models painted, right? So there's a skill to know, like, this is what battle ready looks like. And this is easy, like at this point, like you said, it's easy to finish off. We do the eyes on all 10 models, we do the pouches on all 10 models, you know.
But you don't have to do them. And when I reach this point, I'm satisfied that I can take this to a tournament and I can get my 10 points and I'm fielding a painted army. And it looks okay. It doesn't look great, but it looks okay. And then for models worth going the extra mile, you can paint all the little details on them, all the little bits of grenades and random little decorations and stuff, and extra decorate the base and all this kind of jazz. And yeah, just make sure that it looks and feels like a properly finished model, essentially.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's the stuff that I've sort of prepared as my process for all of this. The key to all of this really is this here. I find going to an event and to a tournament massively motivating. If I don't have a deadline to work to or a tournament to go to, stuff won't get painted for me. It'll just be, oh, I can get to it when I feel like it, or I'll enjoy it. And I enjoy painting while I'm doing it, but when I'm not doing it, it feels like a chore. And I find it hard to imagine doing it to enjoy it, even though I know that I enjoy it while I'm doing it. And it's a very strange, weird feeling.
Yeah. I have to admit that sometimes I do get in a similar way. I mean, I don't have a lot of free time, and if I have got some free time, then painting is something that I very much look forward to doing. It really is something that I'll do to switch off. I do it to meditate, and from a slightly different point of view, I've got a couple of pretty unpleasant health conditions, and they can be quite debilitating. I can have some pretty horrible seizures and been in hospital and things like that. But it's actually really obvious when I've been painting and when I haven't been painting, because when I do paint, my health improves. And that sounds like a really bizarre thing to say, but it's really very important that I do, and I dedicate a little bit of time to it.
Oh, cool.
A friend of mine is, we joke about him being a wizard, different story there. But he's very much into alternate medicine. Now, I'm a physicist, and I think that alternate medicine is largely bollocks. But what I do understand is the power of the human body to reset itself and improve itself. I mentioned a minute ago how I was very, very ill. And when my little boy was born, my body improved itself and I stopped being quite so ill. And a similar effect happens when I paint. If I spend the hours painting, even if it's just half an hour every couple of days, or even better, half an hour a day, the incidence of me having seizures and things like that drops right off. And it's because there's that kind of meditative process where you're able to sort of switch off and just focus on something that's largely unimportant. You know, it is largely unimportant whether this looks good or whether this looks shit. It's not. It's plastic. If worse comes to worse, I can strip the bloody thing.
Yeah, but it's how it makes you feel.
But it has a big effect. So I do sort of understand, though, because even with all that being said, there are times when I'm thinking, going, I really can't be asked to paint any more trim. And I don't. And even though I'm fully aware of the benefits and understand how important it is, I still sometimes I'm just not in the mood. And there's two schools of thought about that. There's the kind of the Miniac thought, which is just, no, make yourself do it. Sit down, 15 minutes a day. Got to get the paintbrush out. Do it, or you'll stop. Does that make sense? It's a bit like the whole, if you fall off your bicycle, the first thing you've got to do is get back on your bloody bicycle.
Oh, yeah.
Or there's the kind of more laid back and gentle kind of Roman the Put sort of style where he's going, if you're not feeling it, you're not feeling it. Don't worry about it. And there's arguments both ways, but I can absolutely empathise because, yeah, sometimes I just don't have the drive or the mental like energy left to paint, even though it is something that is very relaxing.
Yeah, but committing to going to a doubles event with my very good friend Tony, that I know is going to be happening in 6 to 9 months from now. We've gone through it. We've done our army list on stream. We know what we're going to build. Here's our army. That's a really motivating thing for me because I've made the commitment to someone who matters to me that I need to get this ready and prepared, and that's good motivation for me at the very least.
I'm the same. I think having a tournament is motivating. Just I don't like it if it's like in 2 weeks. I'm like, oh god, I can't be ready in 2 weeks.
Well, a lot of things. A good solid deadline is going to help you get something done, isn't it?
And then with 6 to 9 months to go, you can go, oh, there's months on down the line, and then you're 2 months out and you shit. Oh, okay, it's only a few weeks away now. Maybe I'll actually better do something. That's kind of where I get to with that because I procrastinate a lot. Apparently, I'm not procrastinating. I'm doing side quests. My wife bought me this.
Yeah. I find this quite interesting because Actually, a lot of what you're saying there, Mark, especially with your spreadsheet, very much mirrors my own system.
Yeah.
Have you guys ever come across the idea of a Kanban?
I have a friend of mine who's in product management somewhere down in London has mentioned it a time or two and said that I should maybe try it, and I'm kind of happy with the processes that I've got, so I say, yeah, I should try that at some point, but
I mean, you could, Mark, but you're already doing it. Fundamentally.
Yeah.
So very much a simplistic way of looking at it. It's a technique that we teach all the students. And the system that I do, I've got a big Kanban board on my wall. You can't see it, it's over the back there. And I have another one on my wall in my office. And it works effectively like a job list. And I'll have down the list, all the jobs. And I'll itemize them quite heavily, you know. Yeah. And looking at like your one, for example, it might be build the model.
Yep.
Undercoat the model. Base coats. Wash. Detailing. Metals. So on and so forth.
Yeah.
Okay. And then you've got columns to the right of that. And depending on where you look, you've got different versions of it. Some might have extra stages, but the most simple version is quite simple. Job list. To do. In progress.
Yep.
Done.
Yep.
That's it. And all you do is the simple version that I teach the kids is we actually do it with post-it notes. I say, right, write your job on your post-it note. And it's just base coat Dante. I'll take that post-it note and I'll stick it now in the new in progress column.
Cool.
And you move them along. And what it does is it means that you can, at a glance, look at your whole board and you can see all of the little things that you've got in progress. Now, this was really important for me when I was commission painting.
Yeah.
Because I'd have my own little projects going on. I'd have projects for other people that have got a deadline attached to them. I've got maybe a project for another person that's got another deadline attached to it. I've got this one over here that I'm just building it, and I've got all these different projects, and they'd all be on the board. And what it means is I could walk up, look at the board, and go, right, these are the jobs that I've got on. These are the models that you're doing. This is the stage that they're all at, and I could see at a glance. Where have I got to with?
These are my deadlines, and this is what I need to prioritize and stuff. Yeah,
I'm at that point there, and it's effectively a really simple. It's what you're doing. It's just horizontal instead of vertical, the other way around.
Yeah, and a little bit more detailed in a program specifically designed to do so, rather than just a tick box in Excel. Yeah,
it's a really useful thing to do, and it's something that I use if I'm tracking larger projects, especially. It's a standard feature of my office wall because I've got it not just for painting, I've got it for my day job as well, where I've got a lot of plates spinning in the air at any one time. So I thought it'd be worth me talking through a little bit of my process. Because whilst I don't generally paint for tournaments and deadlines, I have done. I just don't like doing it. I'd much rather pick the models. But I do paint for deadlines. And certainly I did when I was doing this as a kind of a more professional sort of thing. And when I'm doing it, I have to break down the jobs into a couple of different types of job. Okay. So what I'm going to do is, because I wasn't quite sure where we're going, I'm going to start with sort of type 1 jobs, which are absolute balls to the wall. I want it to look as good as I can jobs.
Okay.
And the process that I'll go through, and I'll just start sort of going along like those ones. If I can make the technology work for me, but it doesn't want to. Please work for me. Are you going to let me share?
I can't really see the screen. I'm having like a visual migraine right now, so
no worries.
When I'm closing my eyes, it's because like I've got a big wave.
Because you've not done enough painting, John.
Yeah.
It's fucking.
That's what it is.
Apparently, it's B12 deficiency is what it is.
Oh, okay. Is that a sunlight thing?
No, B12 is meat. Apparently, I don't eat enough red meat.
You don't eat enough red meat.
But
oh, hang on. No, cancel that. That's the wrong one. That's the wrong picture. Scratch that. Still not working.
Okay.
It will work. Come on, work for me. You know you want to.
Yeah, I don't eat a lot of red meat. It's not. This is not a conscious thing. It's just like I like steak. I like burgers.
Yeah.
We just don't eat them very often, I guess.
Fair enough.
Do you eat steak and burgers often?
Oh, as often as I can convince my wife that we should. Absolutely.
Okay. I guess
and she's all like, more veg. I'm like, nah, meat. But now
Right.
Anyway.
Okay, I think that's sort of working for me. Can you see boa constrictor there?
Yep, we can see the snake man from the lizard man team. Or woman, or whatever they are.
Well, actually, it's from the Amazon team, and it's your snake man from the Amazon team.
Yes, it is. I thought it looked familiar.
So I thought I'd start off with talking about boa constrictor here. Now, boa constrictor was a model that I was painting for Mark. Now, this was a model that had a deadline. I needed to get it painted by a specific date, and this point was, I don't know, something of December. It was a Christmas present. And I worked it backwards. So I knew I needed a good finished product by that point, and I knew how long I had till that point.
Mm-hmm.
What I had to make a decision about was how much time I could dedicate to that. Because the problem is, if you start doing something that's just, I'm going to paint this as good as I can,
you could be at it forever.
You could be at it forever, because you'll never finish it, which is why things like Golden Demon and that are almost so important, because you say, right, I need to finish this by Golden Demon.
Mm-hmm.
And then you start working it backwards. So with a model like this one, I knew the kind of level I wanted to get it to. I had some ideas about the color schemes and that, because I painted the rest of his team. And I knew the basing because I knew that that's what Mark used, so I could work that one back, which meant I knew kind of how long that was going to take me. And I had to kind of break that into stages. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to get the airbrush out and I'm going to start doing some base coats.
Mm-hmm.
That's going to take me probably not all that long, couple of hours, absolute maximum on that. Then I'm going to be thinking, right, what I'm going to need to do after that, I'm going to need to do some detailing. How much time can I allocate to this? I'm doing this the other way around. Rather than saying, this is what I need to do, it's going to take me this much time.
Mm-hmm.
I'm choosing how much time this is going to take me. Okay. So,
okay. And fitting what you can do into the time.
Sorry?
And fitting what you can do into the time.
Yeah. So, because what a lot of people will do when they're trying to paint something to a really high standard, and there's nothing wrong with this, by the way. This is how you like to paint. Don't let anybody tell you that it is the wrong way. This is how I do it because I'm time constrained. Is I will say, right, I'm going to budget 2 hours for this stage, airbrushing. Okay, I'm going to start off with probably some sort of light map with the airbrush. So just doing some sort of like light and dark areas and that. I don't know if you'll be able to see it on that, but this is something that I've done that on there already. Mm-hmm. So I've been darkening areas down and lightening areas up with the airbrush. Then I'm going to get the colors on there. Then I'm going to say, right, well, I'm going to allow myself 4 hours to do the neatening up and the tidying up.
This is why you're so good at and happy with doing the odd episode where we do them, where you're just painting something and you do, and you get on with it and get a lot done in the hour and a half or 2 hours we're recording for.
I know what I've allocated to that part of the job. And I'll do that, and I'll keep working on it for that allocation of time. And I'll try and be very disciplined with myself to not go beyond that. So I'll allow myself. So if I look at this model now, I'm pretty happy with it, but I could have done a smoother blend on the top. But I'd used up my time allocation, so I needed to move on.
Mm-hmm.
And that's really important. So I decided for this model that I was going to spend about 15 or 16 hours, I think I allocated maximum. I divvied it up by the different stages, and then I worked that backwards into my schedule. That's on my Kanban board, and then that's going.
Yeah, which is kind of related to that old saying of perfect is the enemy of good or something, because you're moving on when it is good.
Yeah. I've got to the point where I go, right, I've got to move on now. And if you're trying to hit a deadline, but you want something to look good, that's really, really important to say, this is good enough. I'm not trying to win a Golden Demon with this. Mm-hmm. This is good enough. I need to move on, or my project won't move on. And it's by allocating those different stages that I can do that. Now, something like this is quite a straightforward process. Base coating, tidying it up, technique stuff, so probably oil washes, that kind of thing, brightening it back up, edge highlight, detailing. And I'll do it like that, and I'll split them all up. Job done. half an hour for basing, whatever. Mm-hmm. When you're doing something a little bit more complex, so if I just sort of kill this picture off for a second and bring up a different picture. Now, this is something that I did to a very similar visual standard, but you can see it's an absolutely very different style of miniature.
Oh, yeah, and it's like a gazillion times bigger for a start as well.
It was a big model. Now, because this is such a big model, again, I'm working to a time, but I've only got a limited amount of time. So I've got to go, right, what's going to have the most visual appeal? What's going to have the most effect? So often with miniatures, I'm talking to people, I'm saying, right, when somebody picks up their model or they look at it, but you've got something and you're looking at somebody's model, they tend to focus on a couple of different areas. The face, the weapons.
Okay.
Nobody sits there going, oh, look at his feet. They're not going to do that. Especially if they're 2 feet away looking at it from the other side of the table.
Yeah, that's fair.
Faces and weapons for sort of monsters or things with faces.
Yeah.
If you've got a face, they're going to look at the face. And that even goes for things, big stuff like knights. They're going to look at the head. So when you're doing your allocation of time, you've got to factor that in and go, right, people are going to be looking at the face. They're not going to be looking at the feet. Just out of curiosity, do you remember what color the stripes were on that model that I just showed you?
I mean, I couldn't really see the model, so...
I understand. No, most people won't. Now, they were actually kind of a dark purple color.
Okay.
But you're not looking at it. You're looking at the focal points of the model. That's the bit that's going to stick in your memory. So that's the bit you want to spend your time. Mm-hmm. So, for example, with this model, people aren't really going to be looking at what the plates along the bottom around the tracks are going to be doing. Okay, so I'm not going to spend hours and hours and hours painting little scritchy scratches into those tracks because nobody's going to appreciate that time. I'm going to use a faster technique. In this case, I mostly relied on sponging to get some nice little chips in there and then a little bit of tippy-tappy with a brush. Very, very quick, very, very easily. But people are going to spend a lot of time looking at that big honking great big gun on the top.
Yeah, it's a very big imposing plasma cannon.
So I'm going to spend a little bit of time and I'm going to get this cool kind of heat bloom effect on there. Okay, so the heat bloom effect on the plasma cannon probably took me as long as it did to do all the sponge chipping on the rest of the model combined. But people aren't really looking at it. They've seen that it's there, but they're not focusing on that. They're focusing on the focal point in it, which is the big pink gun.
Yeah.
Okay, and I can use that to my advantage because I can spend the time wisely. So, like I said earlier, allocating the amount of time to the stages, I can go one step further and go, where am I going to allocate on that stage the focus of my efforts? Am I going to sit there and clean up every single little slip of the paintbrush on a model's feet? No, because nobody's going to notice. Nobody's looking at the bottom of the bottom. There's a running joke that I don't paint the bottom of tanks.
Yeah, I was just thinking that this ties into your excuse for not painting the bottom of tanks, but it's actually making more sense when you put it in the frame of a time budget.
Yeah, nobody's looking at the bottom of the tank. So if I've only got, I think for this model, I allocated 20 hours. I've only got 20 hours. I'm not going to spend an additional hour painting the bottom that nobody's going to look at the cost of then doing the focal point, the gun, quicker, because people are going to look at that. So I'm going to take, it's a bit like min-maxing in D&D, isn't it? You spend your points where you're going to get the most impact from.
Oh, God, yeah, absolutely.
So in this case, I've got my 20 hours and I'm going to allocate the majority of them to where people are going to look. With a vindicator, it has a stripes on the front. You spend your time, make sure those hazard stripes are absolutely crispy because everyone's looking at them. Nobody is looking at that funny little Imperial Eagle that you stuck on the back door.
Despite how cool you think it is that it's there, and
despite how cool that it is that it's there.
Yeah.
So this I'm talking about with a more display miniature kind of point of view, but it isn't just for those kind of display miniatures. So this is what I said with a type 1 miniature, where I'm painting one thing and I want it to look really good. Okay. Maybe it's the centerpiece for my army. Maybe it's a commission piece for somebody. Now, the type 2 is where I'm doing a similar thing, but I'm very much time constrained.
Okay.
And this is where I tend to find my own paint jobs falling in, because not so much now, because I'm not painting for other people so much, but certainly when I was painting for other people, if you're sitting there going, right, I'm getting paid to paint X, Y, Z, but I'm getting absolutely nothing to paint my own thingy.
You can cut some more corners, I suppose.
I need to cut a few more corners. So I'll take that even more extreme. So if I just bring up another miniature, if I can find him. Here he is. Here is a Vindicator Assassin.
That looks cool.
Okay. It's a one-off. It's a single figure. He's not very big because he's a human, but he's mine. I can't really justify putting huge amounts of time onto this, so I'm going to really trim it back. I'm going to say, right, 3 hours.
Unless it's a major passion project for whatever reason.
A major passion project, but the Vindicator Assassin, apart from being cool, isn't.
Yeah, it's fair.
I'm not trying to win any matches. I'm not trying to win anything. I just want to have him cool and bang him on the table because I think he'll be fun.
Yeah.
So now I'm starting to lean much more away from really complex, taking my time edge highlight, because edge highlighting is kind of the extreme end, one end of time taken, but has a good visual impact, but massive time taken. And at the other end, there is dry brushing. Okay, dry brushing and edge highlighting achieve the same job, which is readability on your miniature. You know, you want to be able to stand 2 feet away and see where all the different bits are.
Yep.
The high impact, it's got the high time investment. Best version is edge highlighting. The low time investment, but similar impact is to dry brush. Yeah. Okay. You know, going back to your models that you were washing earlier, you could have achieved a very similar effect by painting the dark color and edge highlighting every single order on there.
Yeah.
And it
would have taken beautiful. 10 times as long. Yeah.
It would have taken 10 times as long. So this is my own model, so I know that, and I don't have much spare time. So I'm going to go the other end, and I'm going to be at the dry brushing end of the spectrum rather than the edge highlighting end of the spectrum. Okay.
Cool. Yep.
So where can I cut some corners? I can cut some corners doing volumetric highlights because I can do those quickly with an airbrush. So I do. You'll note that I've taken a picture from the front. You'll also note there's actually only about 3 colors on this entire model.
Yeah.
I could have painted that little strap on his arm holding the bullets a different color to the rest of him.
Yep.
Or I could use an oil wash to highlight where the shades are and just pin line around it and say, well, it's blending in with the rest of his outfit.
Yeah, exactly.
So I'm going to do that because even the little bit of time it takes to pick up a paint, shake it, stick it on the wet palette, mix it down and things adds up. So if I can use a paint that's already on my palette, I'm going to use a paint that's already on my palette. There is only one highlight color on this entire miniature. Okay. This whole model was painted with base coats and one highlight color, which was an ivory color from Vallejo. Doesn't really matter. I just picked the color, it was light, and all I've done is I've just mixed it a little bit into whatever base color is on my wet palette. Okay, because that saves me the time of going through and picking out, oh, do I want to use this slightly brighter shade of blue or this light blue? That was a little bit more. That's a little bit more. No, screw that. Takes time. I'm thinking about it too much. Add a little bit of ivory to whatever the base color is. Go for it. Again, though, you can see what have I spent my time on? Well, I've gone to the effort to edge highlight his gun.
Yep.
And I've painted his face quite neatly.
Okay. Yep.
I haven't bothered with his feet. There's a bit of a volumetric on there. I've used some oils to do a bit of definition. I've used a nice little base ready mix. And you can't really see it from this picture, but I've used some like dirty down rust and that on the bits of metal sticking out the post because job done.
Yeah. And so because you're an extremely good and practiced and skilled painter in a lot of ways, your cutting corners model here is better than most of the high level detail models I would make, for example.
But yeah, I mean, it looks great for 3 hours, man.
What's important though, and this is what I keep trying to get across to people, is how they can't paint. the only bit on here that required any real brush control was his eyes.
Okay.
Everything else on here is technique over brush controlling skill.
Mm-hmm.
It's dry brushing, not edge highlighting.
Yeah.
Generally. And that's really important because using a combination of techniques, you can tie your whole model together and speed up your process and still get a good effect. And then spend that little bit of time to make sure you paint the lenses in his eyes. Job done.
Yeah. By technique, read trick.
Yeah.
Way of doing something that makes it
using
easier
different
than
using things like the dry. I keep saying dry brushing because it's the most basic of ones, but it's also one of the most useful.
Mm-hmm. I mean, just dragging a brush across the model, picking up all the highlighted bits. Yeah,
and it can work really, really quite
effectively,
quite easily. So that's your type 2 things. Now, what we're really talking about in this episode, I wasn't quite sure where we were going originally, but this is where we're going. Is we're looking more at the kind of now how do we scale that up? So I just want to bring up another.
The battle ready, so to speak.
Battle ready, as it were. So this next picture that I'm trying to bring up, if I can make this work.
As a side note, while you're trying to bring that up, I hated at first the idea of GW putting 10 points in scoring into painted, because I thought that's putting things into win conditions into things that have nothing to do with how you win the game. But it has encouraged more and more people, subtly maybe, but effectively, to playing fully painted armies. And I can't say that's a bad thing at all. It's a really good thing.
Mm-hmm. So the guys on the screen at the moment, nobody will have seen really, might have seen a picture or whatever, is for a video I'm making at the moment. Now, if I ever get the damn thing finished, I'm making a video that very much ties into this. And if you guys remember, a couple of months ago, I released a video of starting a new army from scratch. Mm-hmm. Well, part 2 is the actually building and painting of that. And what you're looking at here is a test model. Well, 3 test models, actually. Now, something that's probably the most important piece of thing that I've got after a paintbrush is this. And this is just a cheap paperback book. And I get through loads of these, and every single one of these is full of test models.
Okay.
I start painting, I work it out. Now, this last page here is all sort of scribbled out all over. I don't know if it come through, but it is all scribbled out all over. And that's because it is these guys.
Okay.
Now, the next stage that I will, or the first stage I will do when I'm looking at it, is spend a little bit of time looking at the model, and I will actually work out how I'm going to paint it before I put paint to the model. I'll think about what colors I'm going to use, and I'll think about what order they're best going to go on. Now, if I'm left to my own devices, I tend to paint models from the inside out. I'll tend to paint from the faces and the fleshy bits through the clothes, through the armor. And the reason for that is it's very difficult to get in on his face if I've just painted a big old metal gorget in front of it.
Yeah, it's fair.
Doesn't matter if I get some face paint on the gorget because I haven't painted it yet, but it will matter an awful lot if I've done the face paint on the gorget when I painted it.
Yeah, it's just logical.
So working out the order that I'm going to do things in can be really, really important. Now, there are some caveats on that. For example, with these guys, the most striking part of it is the white armor. So that's the bit I need to do. That's the bit I need to work on with the airbrush. But it goes even further than that. If I don't know how well you'll be able to see it, but this here is all of the backpacks and the shoulder pads.
Okay.
I don't normally use sub-assemblies because I generally believe that if you can't get the brush in there, you probably can't see it anyway. But with this, by taking these off of here, I was able to use these with the airbrush.
Yep.
Well, I couldn't have done that with the airbrush if they were still on the model.
That's fair.
But that's part of what I've broken down in here. I'm going to break them down into these pieces, and I'm going to work on them in these stages. Now, these are the ultimate of technique over skill. Now, I've got here, as I'm making on the rest of the video, I don't know if I'll be able to get it to come up on the screen or not. Can it come up? It's thinking about it. It's a very badly painted model.
Okay.
But it doesn't matter. because I've made the decisions of, right, where are people going to see this? What's going to be noticeable? Well, people are going to notice the white armor, so I want to get a really nice gradient on that. So I'm going to put a lot of time on it. But the odd bit of trim that's a little bit sloppy or something, people probably aren't going to notice by the time it's all on a table down here. And you'll also notice that I've got blood splatter on here. I've got bits of dirt encrusted in here. I've got OSL on the plasma effects, things like that. And again, focusing, what are people going to be looking at? They're going to see the cool blood splattered bits on it. They're going to see the glowy eyes. They're going to see the glowy guns. That's going to draw their eye. They're not going to pay attention to this guy over here. The little bit of trim on his left foot is a little bit sloppily done.
No, not even slightly.
Okay. So I've done that and I've carried on with that idea. But with these ones, I've built that into the system. So I know I'm going to be doing a gloss varnish stage at this point here, so that I can do my oil washes at this point here. Now, the gloss varnish stage here is going to go a long way to covering up some slightly shoddy decal work. Okay, so it's going to save me time having to go back in and fiddle around with decals, because that stage is going to cover up that mistake. So I've done that plan on paper before I put brush to model. And then I've gone back in, done some test models, which are absolutely always worth it. People think, I'm not doing a test model. Do a test model. It doesn't take you that much time, and it makes so much, because I realized while I was doing my test models that I'd put the world's most complicated skull recipe on there, and it just wasn't necessary.
Okay.
I got 90% as good an effect by just painting the bloody thing ivory, washing it with Agrax Earthshade, and giving it a dry brush. Nobody's really paying attention to that skull that's between his legs. It looks nearly as good, but it changed something that took me half an hour to paint the skulls to 2 minutes to paint the skulls, and looks nearly as good. Yeah. And I found that out by doing a test model.
Yeah, there's always that sweet spot, isn't there, where you spend 90% of your time to get the majority of the model, and then you can spend huge amounts more time to do tiny little polishing, finishing bits on that feel like they matter, but also at the same point,
and sometimes they don't. But sometimes they do. So
yeah,
spending an extra little bit of time on a pointless detail on his face makes a massive difference. So taking the time to paint nice little eye lenses on that Vindicare assassin, probably took me 10 minutes, which is a lot for the whole model. But it had so much impact. The impact massively outweighed the time investment.
Yeah. Compared to spending the same time doing similar things on a different bit.
But doing a fancy gem on his feet, nobody's going to look at.
We get that.
So that's really quite important. So do your test models. So I did these test models. I corrected my plans with things that weren't worth it, things that I needed to change. And then I've scaled it up, and I'm following the same pattern, but with the rest of the squad. Once I've worked that out, I've now got that nailed out for the whole of the army, and I can just keep scaling and scaling and scaling.
Yeah.
And that's really, really quite important. The last little bit that I'd like to just mention, I did mention it really briefly before, is the value of doing a terrible English, so we haven't scripted this, is the benefit of doing a value sketch.
How dare you? We script all of our episodes.
Yeah. So these little fellas here are the last time I actually did paint something for a tournament. And these are the company heroes that I needed to do for that tournament we went to.
Yeah.
I knew how to paint my blood angels. I've painted a lot of blood angels. But the first thing I did when I was doing these specific guys is I sat down and I did a value sketch. Now, a value sketch is just going up to a bright white in the areas that are lightest and keeping it nice and dark in the areas that are darkest. You can achieve this with a zenithal spray. Just get a rattle can over the top with a white over the top of a black, and that will give you a nice gradient, and it will show you the light tends to come down from the top, and it'll give you a kind of a basic idea of this. All I'm talking about in the value sketches, I'm just doing the same thing. I'm just taking it one step further, and I'm being a little bit more specific about it. I'm doing it with the airbrush. So I've got a bit more control over where that light's going.
Okay.
This is something that's really important because spending that little bit of time with the models itself gives you more of an appreciation. So here's one that I was working with just for my own fun. I've done the value sketch on this guy. This is Araman.
Yep.
And I'm painting it just because I wanted to. And I'm spending that time, and it gives me a little bit of an appreciation of where the model is going. Where are the golden angles? Where are the ones that you want to look at it from? Where do I want to draw my eye to? So just spending time looking at the model, it can be really, really valuable. Another way you can do this, and another way that I have seen people do and quite like myself, is to give the guy a base coat with a kind of slightly glossy black and actually use a physical light to do this. So get your model, put it under your lamp, and just go, right, where's that light coming? I can take a picture of that, whack the contrast right up on the picture. So I've got really extreme darks and lights.
Yep.
And that will give me that kind of value sketch. So as I'm going through the next stages, I already know where my highlights go. And I'm not wasting time thinking about where my highlights are going to be done. The other benefit to this kind of style of painting is you could use transparent paints, things like inks, things like contrast paints. If you slap a contrast paint over a gradient you've done like this, you'll get a nice gradient from a dark color to a light color, and you've done a lot of your work for you. And it can save you an awful lot of time. Like I say, technique over technical skill when you're in a hurry. It just adds another layer to things like contrast paint, which can speed you up. Now, if I just bring up my last picture, which is exactly the same squad. Sorry, there we go.
No worries.
So this is exactly the same unit, but finished.
Yep.
And I've done exactly that. I've done the value sketch. You saw that on there. Then I've used transparent paints to give my reds a little bit of a gradient in them to just add a little bit of interest, so they're not all the same tone.
Yep.
Then I've used things like oil paints for pin washing. And I've focused very much on making sure I spend the time on the faces and on the weapons, because that's the thing people are looking at, and they're not paying attention to how much detail I've put in his legs.
Yeah,
but really, this is just bringing all those things together. And that meant that I could knock this whole squad out far quicker than I could have done by doing them individually or painting them the kind of traditional way where I'll be trying to put the highlights and things like that in a bit later. So that's kind of my process for doing things because everything for me has to be against the clock. So,
hey, John, there's an Ultramarine in a Blood Angel unit.
I know. You want to join me in the Stormlance detachment?
So that is the old, I can't remember what year it was, but they did a set of miniatures for skulls, and there was this thing where you could earn these like gold points. If you got the top thing, you get this metal miniature. Even his base is metal.
Yeah, and it's very cute how he's now on a 40mm base to be in the command squad.
We're going back like 20, 25 years.
It's got, so the whole thing is metal, and I had this miniature because I did get him originally from the skulls. They're really valuable now.
Yeah.
And I was like, do you know what? I just want an excuse to paint him up for this company heroes unit, because I'm probably only going to use it once. Lo and behold, I've used it once.
Yeah.
So I decided to use some stuff. So the heavy bolter there's the old metal one. Yeah, the original 3rd edition with the metal weapons.
Yeah.
That was hateful. There's that skulls guy there with the banner. The guy with the bolt gun is the one from the old command squad. With just a little bit of a repose on him.
Got a company champion guy. The
company champion is that one they released that was immediately went to Legends.
Yeah.
Yeah, which made no sense, did it?
It made no sense. So I just used it as an excuse to use up a load of random miniatures that I had kicking around. But the guy with the banner is so physically small, he comes up to sort of mid-chest on one of the Primaris. So he's got a huge plinth.
Yeah.
to raise him up to the same height as the others.
Awesome. And it looked really good on the table as well, that unit.
It was a fun unit to use, but I had some fun painting it, even though I was restricted by the time. So yeah, that's kind of my major sort of process. We did talk a little bit about sort of like tools and sort of like paints and things like that we would recommend. So I don't know if somebody else wants to jump in.
Well, John, when's your next tournament? Or have you thought about that or not thought about
that? January. I have decided it's going to be January because I came home from this tournament and my wife was like, "Can I please go out away from these two children?" And I was like, "Yes, you can. I will make my next tournament January." And she was like, "No, but yes, I think that's a good idea."
So what do you need to do for January?
I need a list, man. But yeah, I mean, I guess by only playing one army, I'm pretty privileged, right? Like I probably have just about every unit, so it's probably, I think I'll probably do what you had there, which is like if I do want to add a unit that I don't have painted, I'll make like a checklist, and then just bash them out. I think,
you've got the painting episodes and the chill episodes that you do, and streams and all this kind of stuff as well, which is good for painting time. Do you get to focus on painting when you do this?
I don't paint at all when I'm not streaming.
Okay.
But that's, Tony's the same, I guess, right? Like, I guess you make more time for the painting. Yeah. I guess, like, as a father, I guess, and kids and jobs, you have to prioritize.
Yeah, absolutely. Weeks will go by these days. Since I had Alan and changed jobs and that, weeks go by now where I would struggle to get an hour to myself to put paint to a model.
Yeah. So, I mean, I do paint like every week. Like if I'm streaming and I'm not going to tournaments, like I will paint every week, but it's just like an hour or so. That's why I guess I don't like having to rush because I gone are the days where I could just be like, I need to paint 3 hours every night this week for a week to be ready for this tournament.
Yeah,
because you have other obligations.
Yeah,
it's why I recommend so stringently be really strict with yourself on how much time you're going to budget to a miniature or to a squad, because if you're in a position like John is, myself is, your kids and that, you don't have a lot of free time. So if you actually want to make any real progress on a project, you can't be just going, I'm going to spend 15 hours painting some nonsense shoes, because you'll never get a miniature done. You'll never get your army on the table and you won't be playing any games.
Yeah, whereas my approach is less how much time can I do to dedicate it. I've stripped back to the bare minimum required to achieve the result that I want, broken down the tasks that I need to achieve that, and then just tick them off, and it'll take the time it'll take to get there. And I'm very, okay, I've done this, yeah, move on. Rather than think about the amount of time it'll take me, it's just like this task needs doing and it'll take as long as it takes.
Yeah.
Rather than go on forever. Yeah, cool.
So yeah, I feel like I've been talking too much on this episode again.
I think you're just more organized than us for painting.
It's not so much that. I mean, I kind of expected this would happen because out of the three of us, you are the painter. You've put so much time over the years into learning how to paint, making it more of an art for yourself, learning every technique possible, delving into all the details, that by its very nature, you are going to have more to say on this subject than either of the pair of us. So, yeah, it's all good.
Okay. Right, so let's break it down. We've been jabbering on a bit. Let's put some proper tips together. John, if you want to give a couple of tips to someone who's trying to get ready for tournaments and get their painting done, what would it be?
I mean, I think it's like the command squad that you just shared the picture of. Arguably, like, because I've painted this, I mean, it's not the same command squad, but I painted the same 5 miniatures, right? And I want to say I do more, right? Like, I paint feet, I paint belts, I paint, like all these little intricate details that I feel like, and then when I look at if we compare the two, I'd almost argue that like yours are just more vibrant, and yours just look better. So I think probably not getting hung up on details that aren't important is actually super important. And like before this episode, when we were making fun of you painting the bottoms of the tanks, it never really occurred to me that, like, yeah, that's a huge fucking waste of my time, and I do that, and no one ever picks the tank up and looks at it. So focusing on, let's say, the demolisher cannon would have been a much better, you know, you could just spray the bottom of the tank red, right? Like, and maybe it's something that, like, I probably should try and get better at. And I guess if you're just starting, then I think people can actually learn quite a lot from you, Tony. I mean, I could learn something from you. I'm just fucking old and stubborn.
Okay.
Yeah.
So lesson number 1 is nowhere to put your effort.
Yeah, a huge lesson, actually. And I don't know if you've ever made that as clear to me as you just did in this video. So if nothing else, that's a great takeaway.
Oh.
Anything else?
I'm glad you got something from that. Mark?
Know what you need to do and give yourself as much time as you can to do it. And just make sure you don't lose track of it. That's all I can say. I put that little Excel sheet together because I found it hard to keep track in my head of what models I needed to do at what stage and where. And this helped me feel in control at every step of how much I had left to do at any given time, which I could then feed into how much time I had left to do it. And that would then ameliorate stress or put a little bit of pressure on me that I need to stop pissing around and actually knuckle down and do something.
Yeah, I think that's a pretty important one, actually. Doing that little bit of a plan so you know how much you've got to do yet to go.
And it's not for everybody, but it is for me.
Oh, yeah, I think it's really important. And then the last one that I would probably add to this is it's about that kind of the idea of budgeting your time. So decide where you're going to spend your time on things and lean heavily, unless you're trying to win a golden demon, technique will generally trump technical skill with a brush. You know, learning how to use oil paints and enamels, washes, varnishes, transfers, these techniques that don't involve any actual kind of like how good you are at dotting the guy's eyes. Learning those skills and practicing those skills will have far more of an impact on your army painting than spending hours practicing writing Roman numerals with a paintbrush. It will look amazing if you're going for a golden demon, but people aren't going to be looking that closely whether that Roman numeral on that miniature is a transfer or if it's painted on there.
Perhaps that's an idea for a follow-up episode where we go through and discuss what the useful techniques are that you need to learn and look into without going into detail on how to do them, because that'd be like a whole episode each at minimum, and people do make a massive series of lessons out of these.
Oh yeah, and there's far better people than I.
Yeah, but just a quick checklist of these techniques are go-tos that we've found massively helpful in getting models ready.
We give it a nice clickbaity title, like 5 techniques that will transform your life and your miniature painting.
And a picture of John looking from the side going in a very sort of
we'll do it in vertical format as well, so it can go on YouTube, like snippets as a YouTube short. John's grinning because he's loving it. Do this. I'm gonna have it on BAC by the end of the week.
And if you do like the idea of us doing that, and you want to see that kind of episode, let us know. Tell us in the comments and all that shit, because otherwise we might get around to it at some point. We might not.
There you go. So I don't know if that was of any value to anybody.
You always undersell yourself, Tony. Like that's hugely valuable to people that struggle like me, that maybe are like painting every single detail, like I said, and you're getting no value out of them. And the only reason that you think you're getting value out of them is because that's the perceived way that, you know, like you look at the box and it's obviously the heavy metal paint scheme and you're like, they have done the thing, so I should do the thing, not realizing how long the thing takes, right?
Oh, God, yeah.
I think it's important to remember, because here's something, bonus tip. Heavy metal are not trying to paint miniatures to look as good as possible. That's not their job. They're painting very much like I do, with a time budget to things, but they've got one primary overriding goal, which is readability.
Yeah.
they're putting all their effort. They put all the edge highlights. They don't put edge highlights on because they think that that's how light behaves, because it doesn't. They put edge highlights on because it means that if you're looking at the box on a shelf up on the wall, you can look at it and you can see exactly what that miniature looks like. You can see exactly where all the details are, and you can go, that's a Space Marine chaplain. They're not trying to do the same thing that you're trying to do unless you're trying to mimic them because it's become a little bit of a cult classic thing. They're painting miniatures to be easily read on a box art from 10 feet away. You're not. You're painting miniatures to look good on a table. That's why things like metallic paints and that are so good for gaming miniatures, because when the slightly shitty lighting that you've got in a gaming hall is reflecting off of your miniatures, if you've got metallic paints, they're going to look great.
Yeah.
Non-metallic metal, beautiful on Instagram, looks fucking awful on the table because you've got probably shonky lighting, and if you catch the model at not the golden angle, it's going to look rubbish. So just remember that. Heavy metal, Instagram, Andy Wardle, David Soper, all these people, amazing painters, but they're not necessarily trying to achieve the same thing that you are, which is
battle ready on a gaming table, being able to play a good game. Yeah.
And I think you'd also get paralyzed by that, right? Because you always see new people on Reddit, they're like, I've painted for this much and my models look shit. And like, no, your models don't look shit, they're fine. You're just comparing them to the box art, which is, like you said, bonkers.
Not a fair comparison.
No. Yeah. And it does, people do get scared. I got really scared the first time I went to a proper painting class. So I absolutely love quite a lot of people, but I really like Andy Wardle. I'm a gushing fan. And the first time I got to meet him, and I went to one of his painting classes and stuff, and he looked at some of my miniatures and was giving me some feedback and stuff like that, I was so terrified to show him what I was doing. And it really kind of blew my mind when he was like, yeah, but look at that, it looks fucking shit from the back, doesn't it? And it was that kind of like in my moment in my head where I was thinking, but these people are incredible, but they're not trying to do the same thing that I'm trying to do.
No.
You know, that this is their job, it's their profession. They're not trying to knock out a cool looking model in 2 hours to be on a gaming table. And it's so easy, like you say, to be paralyzed by seeing this incredible work that people put out. That you're not, and it doesn't matter. You know, anything looks better than grey plastic on a table.
Yeah. And I cannot undersell just how good a coherently painted army looks, whether it's to my very basic battle ready standard or not. The whole thing
Necrons, dry brushed, a little bit of OSL on some of the green glowy things can look wicked.
Yeah, it's very true.
Good weekend.
So yeah, thanks for your time. Thanks for watching. We hope you had some value out of this. As usual, with the three of us, we give all sorts of different perspectives and we bring a different view to it, which is kind of the idea behind putting this episode together and kind of going through our different approaches so that maybe you could pull something new out of it for yourselves.
Yeah.
See you next time, guys.
Cheers, guys. Catch you on the next one.